Hi everyone, we are from Lucky 8, including me, Xing, Ong Jun Han, Ze Yuee, Rou Yun, Hui Yin, Yi Wei, and Shu Hong. Firstly, I will start with the introduction of the movie. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a science fiction film centered on Evelyn Wong, a Chinese-American immigrant mother who is struggling with family conflict, financial stress, and ongoing tax audit. The film uses a multiverse setting which expands the story beyond a normal family drama and create an imaginative and emotionally powerful cinematic experience. Through this multiverse concept, the audience is able to see different versions of reality and different life choices. Beyond its actions, science fiction element, the film deeply explores terms such as reality, meaning, identity, and human relationship. It questions how individuals define purpose in a chaotic and overwhelming world. Ultimately, the film suggests that empathy, acceptance, and personal accountability are essential in finding meaning and healing broken relationships. Now, let us begin with the topic 1, which focuses on metaphysical terms of reality, existence, and free as explored in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Hi, my name is Terrence, and today I'll be talking about the movie and going through about it. First, part A, reality and existence. Now, this movie shows there are multiple realities, and why? Because there are many different versions of Evelyn shown throughout the movie, such as laundromat and hibachi chef, and each version of her exists because of the individual decisions or choices that she have made, and each and every parallel universe exists at the same time or simultaneously. Now, next, in this movie, reality at first are shown as objective because of her own ordinary life, such as family conflicts, her own work life, and also the taxes and financial problems that she has faced. However, throughout later into the movie, reality are shown as subjective, where different universe and verse jumping shows that each Evelyn experienced the realities differently, and also the main villain Jobu Topaki sees all the universe at once, so that because of this perception, Jobu concludes that nothing matters and that this reality is subjective. Next, I'll be going to part B, free will and determinism. Now, we first look into the movie where every version of Evelyn is shaped by her own different decision, which I just said earlier, branches into different reality, such as in the first reality, marrying Wayman, her husband, or second, choosing family over career, or third, leaving China or staying. This shows that her reality is deterministic based on the past of what decisions she have chose affects her future and she couldn't change it. Of course, not going on to the verse jumping, but in the current reality, she is fixed on her own future. Next, verse jumping as a symbol. The representation of verse jumping is the human desire to escape regret. It is trying to find an easy way out, or the fantasy of unlimited freedom. Illusion, even with infinite choices that exist for her, she only still have one reality at a time, not considering the verse jumping or the cheats that she can have.
Good morning, Miss. Today I will be explain why we disagree with accepting the concepts of multi-universe, even though it is an interesting theoretical concept. In the film Everything Everywhere All at Once, the multiverse allows characters to access countless alternative lives, suggesting that every possible decision creates a new universe. This idea is loosely inspired by the many worlds interpretations in quantum mechanics, supported by physicist Max Tegmark. However, this is no experimental evidence proving the existence of multiple universes. According to philosopher Karl Popper, scientific knowledge must be observable and testable. Since the multiverse cannot currently be tested, it remains a hypothesis, not a scientific fact. From a religious perspective, the multiverse conflicts that God created one order universe with purpose, as written in Genesis 1:1. It also teaches that human life follow God's plan, as seen in Psalm 139:16. The firm represents meaning as self-defined and constantly changing, but Christianity teaches that meaning comes from God's divine will. Culturally, especially in East Asian traditions, influenced by Confucius, responsibility and moral duty are central values. The idea that success exists in other universes may weaken accountability and encourage escape from the reality rather than personal growth. In conclusions, while the multiverse is a creative storytelling tool, it remains science fiction's not established reality. Thank you.
My name is Lim Ze Yuee, and I'll start my presentation now. Nihilism is the belief that life has no objective meaning, value, or intrinsic purpose. It rejects universal moral standards and claims that truth is subjective rather than absolute. Within postmodernist relativism, when all perspectives are considered equally valid and no universal truth exists, this can lead to nihilism. If everything is relative, nothing has stable meaning. In Everything Everywhere All at Once, the philosophy is portrayed through the infinite multiverse, where every possible outcome exists simultaneously. Because every version of success, failure, and identity already exists somewhere, individual choice begin to appear insignificant. The film captures this idea through the statements, "If nothing matters," suggesting that meaningless removes guilt and responsibility. However, as we will see, this does not bring peace. The everything bagel symbolizes the logical end of extreme relativism. It contains everything, yet represents emptiness. When all values are treated as equally, hierarchy collapses and meaning dissolves. Joy's transformations into Jobu Tupaki illustrate the emotional consequences of this worldview. After experiencing infinite realities, she concludes that nothing truly matters. Instead of liberations, she experiences exhaustion and detachment. However, the film exposes a contradiction. If nothing matters, then suffering should also be insignificant. Yet joy continues to feel deep emotional pain. This suggests that nihilism fails to account for the human need for meaning, connections, and also responsibility. The film ultimately implies that while relativism questions absolute truth, complete nihilism leads to despair rather than freedom.
Next, let me explain why the concept portrayed in this movie is against science and religion. First, religion. Many religions teach that human life has a fixed purpose given by God. They also teach a moral order where some lives and actions carry more weight than others. But the multiverse challenges this. If there are many worlds, then you might be kind in one world and cruel in another. You might be important in one and unknown in the next. That idea weakens the claim that you have one fixed essence or one clear destiny. This also flattens the moral ladder. If every possible choice plays out somewhere, then no single choice stands above the rest in a final way. Even the idea that all is one starts to lose force. If everything blends together across infinite worlds, then nothing stands apart. Religion often depends on clear lines between good and evil, sacred and ordinary. The multiverse blurs those lines. Now, let's turn to science. Science looks for objective truth and explains how the universe functions. But when we push this view to the limit, we risk stripping the world of its magic. Through verse jumping, Jobu Tupaki gains a scientific omniscience, where love is reduced to mere chemical reactions and life is seen simply as a random rearrangement of particles. These claims may be factually true, but they feel hollow at a human level. In the multiverse, this problem grows. The law of physics that holds in one world may be flatly contradicted in another. making even scientific truth seem less firm. When we pile all these facts together, we still face the same question. Why does any of this matter? Science is brilliant at telling us how, but it struggles to tell us why. Both religion and science aim to explain our place in the world, yet in the multiverse, both face their limits. As these old structures of meaning weaken, they leave behind a great nothing, a vacuum that can drain the will to live. What remains is the individual task of choosing what we care about and how we live in a universe that offers no inherent answers.
Next, I will be presenting topic 3, which is about the egoism in the movie. In this presentation, I'll explain how egoism is shown through the main character in the movie, including Evelyn Wong, Joy Wong, or Jobu Tteokbokki, and Gong Gong. I'll also evaluate whether their behavior are moral or immoral based on personal and cultural perspective. First, I'll talk about Evelyn Wong. She demonstrates egoism through her excessive need for control and emotional neglect toward Joy. She believed that discipline, sacrifice, and achievement are the correct way to live because of the difficult past and immigrant struggle. As a result, she assumed that her perspective is always right. This reflects egoism because she prioritized her own belief and fears over her daughter's emotional need. For example, she hid Joy's relationship from Gong Gong to avoid disapproval. This shows that she values her own comfort and reputations more than Joy's authenticity. She also focused more on solving the tax audit issue than listening to Joy's feeling. When she called Joy too sensitive, she dismissed her daughter's emotion instead of trying to understand them. From a traditional Asian perspective, her strictness may be seen as a form of parental care and responsibility. However, from my personal moral view, her behavior is immoral because emotional neglect can damage a child's physiological and emotional development.
Next, Joy Wong represents egoism in a different way. Her egoism is expressed as self-protection rather than control. Because of parental pressure and fear of rejection, she suppresses her identity and keeps her relationship secret. She prioritizes her emotional needs and personal identity over traditional family expectations. This can be understood as a reaction to autonomy restriction parenting. When a child feels unheard or controlled, they may protect themselves emotionally. Therefore, Joy's behavior is morally understandable as it is rooted in emotional survival rather than selfish intention. In contrast, Jobu Tteokbokki represents extreme egoism. After experiencing all realities in the multi-universe, she becomes nihilistic and believes nothing truly matters. She manipulates others emotionally and exploits evilly God to achieve her goal. Most significantly, she is willing to destroy the universe using everything bagel without considering the suffering it would cause. From a moral standpoint, this is clearly immoral because this disregards the value of other lives and prioritizes her own emotional despair above everything else. Finally, Gong Gong demonstrates egoism through authoritarian thinking and emotional detachment. As the eldest member of the family, he holds strong authority and expects obedience. When he believes Jobu Tteokbokki is a threat, he immediately orders her elimination without hesitation. Despite Joy being his granddaughter, he prioritizes what he sees as the greater good over family bonds. He remains confident in his decision and ignores Evelyn and Waymon's attempts to protect Joy. This shows that he values his own judgment and authority above emotional connection and empathy. Although his intention is to protect the universe, from my moral perspective, his behavior is immoral because it lacks compassion and moral accountability. Moral decisions should not ignore emotional responsibility and family relationship.
Next, I'm going to present the topic 4, which is the human natures presented in the Everything Everywhere All at Once. The movie explores the human nature, which refers to the emotions, behavior, and psychological experience that shape how individuals feel, think, and interact with others. In the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, these human qualities are reflected through the themes of emotional struggles, regrets, search for meanings in life, and cruelties and love. Firstly, the movie shows emotional fragility. Evelyn experienced overwhelming pressure from managing her laundry business, dealing with tax issues, and handling conflict within her families. This accumulated responsibility lead to emotional exhaustion and affect how she responds to others. Therefore, this shows how prolonged stress can weaken emotional stability and cause individuals to lose appreciation for meaningful moments in their life. Secondly, the human concept of regrets also strongly portrayed in the movie. Evelyn frequently imagines alternative persons of her life who appear more successful and fulfilled. The multiverse symbolizes the human tendency to reflect on the path not taken, which highlighting that how people often question their path decisions and compare their current reality with imagined possibility. Moreover, the movie also presents the search for meaning through Joy, who also known as Jobu Tupaki. After experiencing countless universes, Joy starts to perceive life as meaningless. This reflects existential perspective, which suggesting that when individuals struggles to find purpose, they may experience emptiness and emotional disconnection. Thank you.
Next, the human nature that can illustrate through everything everywhere all at once is love. Love can be shown through romantic love and parental love in this film. Romantic love is illustrated by Raymond and Evelyn. Despite emotional distance and conflict in their marriage, Raymond still expressed that even in an ordinary life, he still wants to choose to be with Evelyn. This reflects how human as partner love is not about achieving the most successful version of life, but about commitment, emotional understanding, and staying together despite challenge. Secondly, parental love is portrayed through Evelyn's relationship with Joy. In Alpha Universe, Evelyn that pressure and push Jobu Tupaki has led Jobu Tupaki towards nihilism that reflect crudely. However, when faced with an extreme moral conflict that threatens the universe, Evelyn is unable to harm her daughter. And in that moment, her identity as a mother outweighs fear and rational calculation, which reflect the unconditional human nature of parental love. Although human nature can involve difficulties such as emotional fragility, regret, and uncertainty about the meaning of life, the power of love allows people to overcome this challenge. Everything, everywhere, all at once clearly illustrates that while humans are imperfect, they also possess the capacity to grow, adapt, and to search for meaningful connection through the relationship. Thank you.
In conclusion, Everything Everywhere All at Once used multiple theories to explore the reality and human behavior. The movie covers metaphysical ideas, nihilisms, and egoism, showing how this aspect of human nature can create conflict and suffering in relationships. Despite the chaos and complexity of the multiverse, the film emphasized that moral duty and human connection give meaning to life. It suggests that even in an uncertain and unpredictable universe, empathy, love, and understanding are what help us navigate our choice and relationship. The film also highlights the complexity of human nature through a realistic family dynamic. It reflects emotional struggles such as fragility, regret, the search for meaning, moment of cruelty, and art of love. Through this, the audience is reminded that the life is both difficult and beautiful, and that our relationship and moral choices ultimately shape our experience of reality. Thank you.